What's good, everybody? It's your boy Chidi Bang with Regional Wrestling, the underground of professional wrestling. And I'm here to bring to you Smacktalk with Chidi Bang. I'm here to tell y'all my takes on the latest episode of SmackDown. And I'll be right there with you in a brief moment if I can get this intro to work. For goodness sake, my computer's acting up already with the technical difficulties. But be right back. All right. Yes, I'm here, Chitty Bang, the Underground Professional Wrestling representative for Regional Wrestling right now on Smack Talk. My recap of the WWE Draft, the 2024 WWE Draft episode. Now, the first is the first night. There will be a second WWE Draft episode on Raw, but I'm talking about SmackDown. SmackDown had 4 rounds and it was all right. It was all right for the most part because if you've been watching Reasonable Wrestling, if you've been staying tuned and watching Reasonable Wrestling, then you know that I always say the draft does not mean shit. The draft doesn't mean a goddamn thing, really, in the grand scheme of things. Because if you've seen WWE over the past couple of years, even if you're drafted, when the time is right, they can write you off this show and put you on the other show like Jey Uso, or they'll just randomly have Kevin Owens show up on Raw and wrestle a match just because. You'll have Damage Control show up on Raw throughout the entire year. It happened all through 2023, and it didn't really matter. So conveniently, they'll try to, they'll move people around. So to me, this is all just like, all right, what are going to be the usual suspects we're going to see on each show? On top of that, this is a ratings boost going into the next PLE. In my opinion, this is to prevent or to help with the WrestleMania hangover. So and it's coinciding with the NFL draft. I'm a New York Jets fan, but it's a good time to coincide. It's kind of this like cross brand promotion kind of thing where, yeah, they're doing their draft, we're doing ours at the same time. Let's keep the draft theme going on this week, and let's see if we can catch people on SmackDown and check out the show, and Raw and check out the show after they have draft in their mind. If they're wrestling, because a lot of wrestling fans and football fans there's a crossover, there's an overlap, there's a Venn diagram, there's some in the middle. There's people that watch wrestling and have no idea what's going on in football, and vice versa. But there is a crossover with football fans and wrestling fans, so it's great it's great timing on the draft. However, what does it actually mean in the long run? If one majority of the people got drafted to the same brands that they were already on, and two, they can change things up, anytime. So I'm going to pull up the actual draft picks, and I'm going to first go over the picks itself. Then I'm going to go down the show and tell you my takes on the actual show itself. Now, Roman Reigns, it started off with us, Paul Heyman announcing that Roman Reigns has well, he's pretty much rejected the draft. He's pretty much said to, he's what's the word they use? Man, he's taking himself out of the pool, and he's not going to be able to be drafted because clearly, if you're going to draft somebody, and the champions, by the way, the champions are protected. They're going to be staying on their respective brand. So tag champions are staying on the tag champion brand of Raw. Is going to be Awesome Truth, Aussie Down Under. Is that what it's called? Or no, a Down Under, A Town Down Under. I don't know what the fuck they're called, but Austin Theory and Grayson Waller will be staying on SmackDown. Logan Paul will be staying on SmackDown, even though he's scheduled to appear on Raw. And Sami Zayn will be staying on Raw. And of course, the World Heavyweight Champion, Damian Priest will stay on Raw. Cody Rhodes will stay on SmackDown. So they're protected. The Women's Championships, respectively, Becky Lynch on Raw. And Bayley on SmackDown. Now they didn't mention the Women's Tag Team Championships because I think they are kind of like when you have those champions, you're pretty much on all the brands. Like you could potentially be on all the brands. Now they do tend to fall to one brand typically, but it is what it is. Let's see if I can pull up these draft picks, bruh. Let's see. I'll try to see if I can share it with y'all. If I can get a good graphic. All right. Let's start with round one. Bear with me, guys. So, all right. First overall pick, Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is the first overall pick. She was drafted to SmackDown. She's already on SmackDown. Second pick, Jey Uso to Raw. He's already on Raw. So you see where we're going with this? Second pick of the first round for SmackDown is Carmelo Hayes. Now, this is interesting. Now, this is the part where I thought the draft typically is interesting for me, at least, is who are they going to call up from NXT? Now, we have seen Carmelo on the main roster already. So this is, this is an official call up, even though it looked like the Royal Rumble time that he was like, being teased for the Royal Rumble. He got called up for the Royal Rumble. But this is his official changing of brands from NXT to the main roster. We've already saw Tiffany Stratton and Braun Breaker, get picked up last year going into this year for SmackDown. So they were called up before officially, and now they're just on the roster because we've seen them had multiple matches on the brand. One second. One second. Yeah, so this is his official call up, which is cool because they presented him as a star immediately. They presented him as a star from the get go. He took the microphone. He talked his shit. Right after Cody Rhodes contract signing, he called out Cody Rhodes and said, "Listen, you mentioned something about if you come for the king, you best not miss." And I remember hearing that back after WrestleMania, and I'm like, yo, Cody Rhodes is kind of jacking his shit, But he called that out, and I like that because it set up the main event of tonight, which was Carmelo versus Cody Rhodes. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And the second pick for Raw in the first round was Seth freaking Rollins. Get well soon. He just got surgery, so I'm not sure how long he'll be out. But Monday Night Raw will still be Monday Night Rollins for the foreseeable future. So as you can see, there's no big changes of yet. That's the first round. I mentioned they had a contract signing with AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes. So I might as well just get into that right now. It was basically an actual contract signing. For the first time in a long time, it was advertised as a contract signing, and it was a contract signing. They talked a little bit, but nothing of note really took place, Cody's getting a huge reaction from the fans. They're booing AJ because of the whole LA Knight stuff, but AJ kind of didn't present himself as a bona fide heel. Like he just kind of had – it seemed like there was a mutual respect between the two. And, of course, AJ brought his dad up. I know probably people don't like to have to bring up Dusty all the time, or I'm sure Cody probably would like to get away from that. But AJ Styles has wrestled his dad, and I think it would be remiss not to mention that this is the first time they're facing. But I thought it was a good line when Cody says, "I know you mentioned my last name, but when I signed this first name on here, just know that I'm not coming to have a dream match. This is a must win for me." Basically saying, listen, you can talk all that stuff about my last name, but you're facing the guy who's on the first name, and that's Cody Rhodes, and he signed his first name. He went to go shake his hand, and Eddie Styles didn't shake it at first. He just said that, listen, um, I'm gonna take your title back. That's pretty much what he said. Um, cool segment. Nothing crazy. We did have some backstage segment with the Bloodline, which has been interesting. Solo and MFT, the motherfucking Tongan, Tama Tonga. He had they arrived to the arena. Paul Heyman had to open their car for them. Solo came back in the suit with the gloves this side, looking like a straight up assassin, like a freaking a straight up hitman for real. But I enjoy seeing the evolution of Solo. Solo has been so freaking good, man. He's been so freaking good in his character, and he's elevated himself and it feels important when he shows up. So even though like Roman is not here, and like that's why I always talk about what Roman has done for the bloodline and the people who like interact with them. The fact that he's not around and they can still feel important. Like you still want to see what's going to happen with Solo right now and with MFT Tama Tonga, because since Roman's been gone, these guys have been killing it. These guys have been making it interesting. These guys have been talked about week after week. This week, what I told you, they arrived and Paul Heyman relayed the news that Roman Reigns will not be in draft, but the Raw and SmackDown, they don't know who's going to be in the bloodline. You're adding new members, and so it was like repeat that again. Before Paul Heyman can repeat it, Kevin Owens comes up behind him and they're brawling. He's brawling. He takes him out of the picture. He starts brawling with Tama Tonga. They lead into the ring. But before that's later because they were brawling against backstage throughout the night. And they brought up Bianca to talk about, her being the first overall pick this year. She got approached by the Kabuki Warriors. Jade Cargill came out to defend her. They started, chatting back and forth. And in between them, Tama Tonga and KO are brawling from backstage to interrupt the whole thing. And that ends up in a pull apart brawl where we see Randy Orton actually come in for the save for KO. So we're seeing this relationship with KO and Randy Orton continue. We'll see how it evolves over time. I genuinely want to see Randy as a heel, personally, but we right now, people are excited to see him back after his injury. So I'm not mad at it, per se. But let's get into the second round. Let me pull that up real quick. The second round, and we don't gotta watch it, but let me just show you the graphic because I think that's what really. Come on, man, show me the graphic, bro. I don't want to watch the entire video. So the second round. Let's take a look at this right here. 1 second, guys. You got Randy Orton drafted to SmackDown. So you see his trend. You see a pattern here. Randy Orton was already on SmackDown. We got Braun Breaker. Boom. This is one thing this is what I'm talking about. These guys who are new are the interesting part of the draft to me. These guys that are coming up from NXT. These guys that are fairly new on the rosters and seeing where they can fit, because the next year will be where the Tiffany Strattons, the Carmelo Anthonys, the Braun Breakers really develop their character on the main roster. So Braun Breaker being drafted to Raw is noteworthy. This is noteworthy. But there's very few picks that were actually noteworthy in these drafts. And that's why I say the draft doesn't really matter. This is just a ratings ploy. But for Braun Breaker, and he had a match with Cedric Alexander, obviously squash, spear. It was very quick. I kind of wanted him on SmackDown. I don't know what it is, but I see a really good angle in my mind with him and Cody Rhodes in the future. I think him and Cody Rhodes probably can put on a really good angle that takes him to the next level. But we're seeing with Carmelo, which was pretty cool, and I'll get to their match later on. But I thought Braun Breaker, maybe it's because they're both second generation wrestlers, they can piggyback over that. But I could see him and Cody Rhodes being allies that then become enemies, and Braun going after his championship. Braun didn't waste no time in NXT. He didn't go after the North American Championship. He went straight for the top. So I could see him doing the same thing here. But now he's on Raw. So in this world where he's on Raw, and we got Damian Priest as the World Heavyweight Champion, he's defending against Jey Uso. Can Braun Breaker step up to the Judgment Day if they end up? Well, I think they got to be on Raw. Let's be honest. The Judgment Day would be drafted to Raw. So yeah, I want to see, but we also got Sammy with the Intercontinental Championship. But I kind of want to see Braun Breaker evolve from. I not necessarily evolve. I want to see him just be hot shotted like a Brock Lesnar push, not to that level or extent. I want to see him in the main event as soon as possible. He just has the whole aura around him that you can take him seriously as a main eventer. That's people do. Also, the second pick of the second round for SmackDown, Nia Jax. Oh shit, my bad. Liv Morgan too, but Nia Jax. This is also a noteworthy pick. Kind of wanted to see her as the Raw Women's Champion. I thought she should have been the one to win the Battle Royal earlier on Raw, but hey, didn't happen. It is what it is. She's now coming to SmackDown. So speaking of her and SmackDown, we had a segment backstage where Tiffany Stratton, she went up to Nick Aldis. She said, "Listen, did you see what I did last week? I stole pretty much. We talked about last week. She stole the show. She center of the universe, Tiffany Stratton, ended the show with the best moonsault ever on Naomi and Bayley. And then Nichols informed her she'll be in a singles match with Naomi, and the winner is going to face Bayley at Backlash. And she's like, "Who did that? Who made this match?" And Bayley showed up. She talked her shit. She's like, "Listen, this is my idea, because if you think who you are, you can beat Naomi and face me, or if they would beat you, she gets the match that you interrupted." I think Naomi shouldn't have to earn shit, but nonetheless, they had the match, and Nia Jax shows up, and she wipes out everybody. Well, she wipes out Naomi and Bayley. So the match is ended due to disqualification. And because of that, Stephanie is now opportunist, picks up the scraps. Same thing as last week. Double moons, the best moonsault ever, lays them out and stands there as a solo shot. So we'll see Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Bayley in a triple threat at Backlash now. All right. One moment. All right, so we got Liv Morgan on a Raw. We're gonna see her keep going on her revenge tour. I'm not sure exactly who's next on the list, but since she was the last one, to be eliminated in the Battle Royal with Becky Lynch, I assume Becky's on that list. On that list. So we shall see her also pick up that storyline with Becky. So, like I said, not much stuff was super changed if you think about it, but I think the little bit of changes with Nia going to SmackDown and the call-ups, and then you got Braun Breaker going to Raw, those are the things that matter. So I'm curious to see if there's anything that happens on Raw and there's more fluctuation, because when you say the champions are exempt from the draft, and then you say Roman Reigns is exempt, what other real big changes can there be made other than to switch over a couple of guys from NXT, or like maybe one or two mid-card guys and gals, so we shall stay tuned. And I thought this was interesting because this is a guy I would have taken to to Raw. I think it's time for this man to go to Raw, but SmackDown in the third round picked this man right here. LA Knight. He is now on SmackDown again. So, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. WWE Draft point is low key. It is. I've been saying this for the longest time. Thank you, Aza. When we talk about the draft and you say LA Knight gets drafted to SmackDown, so now he's with Cody and he's with, I guess you can see Cody and him in the future. But then we get we get Ricochet on Raw, the next pick. It's like, all right, that's even the mid card staying the same, you know? And then we get the Bloodline on SmackDown. Oh, what's new there? Nothing. And then we get Sheamus on Raw, which he was already on Raw too. So that whole round, I was like, you guys could have just skipped that shit. You could have just skipped that shit, you know. But you know, I get it. Like Triple H said, it's not about just getting new players, but protecting your own guys who are on your roster. And you know, we'll see how it goes. You know, but I'm going for stories. What stories can you tell? And now we got AJ Styles on SmackDown, which he was already on SmackDown. And if he's already on SmackDown and he's in, let's say, if he's already on SmackDown and he's in the World Heavyweight Championship, WWE Championship match with Cody at Backlash, why can't we like put him on Raw? You know, like or wait till after Backlash to see where he goes. You know. All right, and the next we have Alpha Academy on Raw. Kind of the same story here. Only difference is Chad Gable's now a heel. Andrade on SmackDown. Cool. Something new. He hasn't really done much since he's returned other than WrestleMania, the tag team match. So hopefully now he gets some steam up. I would love to see Andrade in a match with Logan Paul. Andrade and you know, I mean, we'll see who goes there. But Andrade and Carmelo can, you know, they can tear the house down. I think would be ill, you know. And then finally another call up from NXT, the second one of the night. Kiana James is drafted to Raw. Super talented woman. We've seen her, and she has the CEO, not CEO, I should say, because that's Mercedes, but she kind of is a CEO as well. I'm not sure but you guys get it. She's a boardroom executive kind of gimmick who carries, you know, a briefcase, has her, you know, business glasses on, the freaking blazer. She wears her shit. Very, very, very talented in the ring as well. But it's kind of like an evil boss kind of deal with her. So I like what we got in Kiana James. We'll see how she evolves on Raw, and that's noteworthy, you know, because we're now getting her debut to people now. So we'll see how things go with that. Moving forward, anything else? Next week we got Street Profits versus A-Town Down Under, tag team championships on the line. I don't see A-Town Down Under losing the championships, but they got to heat up the Street Profits and the Pride, if that's their name, and Bobby and B-Fab. All that entire group needs to get heated up. So I hope that they get something of note to like tell more story going forward, because just putting them in a tag team match right now does seem kind of like is this like just hot shot? Why are we doing this now? You know, I know they won like a gauntlet match or a fatal four-way, which was a banger last week, but it's still kind of like, okay, are we gonna get any champions from this? And if so, where do we go from there? You know, the Final Testament, they took out New Catch Republic, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne backstage. They intend to, you know, cause more havoc wherever they're drafted. So they got a little shot on the show. But other than that, the big takeaways are we got Triple Threat for Backlash with Bayley, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton, which we predicted last week. We're going to see Street Profits and A-Town Down Under the Tag Team Championship match next week. There will be a face-off with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles next week. And yeah, got to talk about Carlito. Listen, I've been waiting for the turn because we all knew it was going to happen. We all knew the turn was going to happen, and the turn happened. The turn it's alive, man. So Carlito's back to being the bad guy, which is his best role, being where he's in. I'm down to see the feud with Dragon Lee and Carlito and see where it goes. But we got the footage of Carlito taking out Dragon Lee. So we'll see where that goes. I'm glad there's some storytelling being told with them and where we can break up this LWO and see what happens with that. But Dragon Lee, I think, is another guy who's called her from NXT and hasn't gotten much steam yet. So he needs something to get him over. And to be honest, I think he's being overshadowed a little bit by Ray right there. So Ray is kind of like overshadowing all of them in LWO, to be quite honest. Kind of like like no one wants to talk about it, but it's Rey Mysterio, the Chris Jericho of WWE, where when he's in an angle or in a group with you, you almost don't exist. You know, only person that got over with him is Santos and his son. Let's be real. So I'm not sure if it's due to the guys around them or what, but Rey Mysterio he's the man. So you want to see him push on these guys, but at the same time he takes so much attention because he's the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time. Aza says we need more tag teams in the division. 100%, I agree. But more than anything, I'm like, we need more emphasis and storylines on the tag division. Like, if we saw WrestleMania, they had quite a bit of tag teams in the match, and we had a tag team tournament that eliminated Alpha Academy, eliminated the whatchamacallit, the dudes, what's the fucking names, man? But there was tag teams. Newcastle Plugmas is a new one. Alpha Academy was one of the teams I believe that got eliminated. You got the Creed brothers, Tommaso and Gargano. But Pretty Deadly. There you go, Pretty Deadly. So there's a lot of tag teams, but they're not really highlighting the tag division unless they're throwing them into a multi-man match, or they're just throwing them in a tag team title match. It's the same with the women's division, but I see now with Jade and Bianca, they're giving them a little bit more story. They're giving them a little bit more attention because they have star power now. They're breaking up Imperium. Like, that's something that I didn't like on Raw. Like, when you think about it like that, then yeah, maybe we do need like a few more tag teams. Maybe they can call up Gallus from NXT, or I'm not sure if they're going to call up an NXT tag team on Raw, so that's a possibility. But I really didn't like the Imperium breakup. I like that tag team. We could have seen them. They're a perfect team to go against, Awesome Truth. But we need a heel. We need a dominant heel tag team. They tried to turn Street Profits last year. It didn't work because the fans loved them too much. But we'll see. We'll see where the things go with them. But I just want a good story, And what else? Is the match with Cody and Carmelo. Great match. I think Carmelo it's a good moment for him. It's a great moment for him to main event SmackDown with the man at the time, Cody Rhodes. It did seem, this is the first time I've seen Cody in a long time in a match where he was bigger than his opponent. So him hitting like a power slam moves and Carmelo doing crazy selling for him, I thought was awesome to see, because Cody came off looking like a dominant champion. He made him look good. However, there was a moment at the end of the match where they both did a springboard and they both landed in the middle of the ring, and it looked like Cody might have hurt the shoulder. It didn't look planned at all. It didn't look planned. So I'm looking at that as maybe there was a miscommunication, and I hope that Cody's all right. So it looked like Cody after the match was trying to talk to Carmelo, and it looked like he was a little bit kind of scolding him, like maybe there was something he did wrong. Because it wasn't like he like raised his hand and shook his hand and respected. No, he was upset. So off script, I think there was an issue. I think that Cody got his shoulder injured because there was a planned spot that Carmelo might have not known, But hopefully Cody's all right, because We don't need him getting injured. This is absolutely the wrong time for that to happen. So other than that, it was a regular episode. Um, and I think I touched on everything that was of note that needs to be taken care of. I think we got SmackDown next week. The tag titles on the line, and we got the face off with Cody and AJ Styles. Raw will be the second half of the draft with 6 rounds. So we'll get more information on where people land then. All right. So thank y'all for listening. Uh, we'll tap back in after. Actually, we'll tap back this Sunday on our episode where we do the podcast with me and my co-host, Joint Roller Ayatollah Chris, the Most High. But thank y'all for listening. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back on Sunday. I'll be back on Sunday. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. All's love. Everything is wrestling. Peace out.